Conservatives slam Trump for not getting his border wall from Congress. Washington, last night, the Senate to keep the government open until February 8, without the $5 billion that President Donald Trump wants for his border wall, and the House is expected to take up the legislation today. And some prominent conservative voices aren't happy about it. At all. It is now crystal clear that one of two things is true: either Trump never intended to build the wall and was scamming voters all along, or he has no idea how to get it done and zero interest in finding out. Washington came together to pass criminal justice reform in like 10 minutes. Meanwhile, $5 billion, a measly $5 billion, when compared to the size of the federal budget for border security, is an impossibility. Somebody needs to explain to me how this happened. The headline on Wall stall, Trump in retreat. And to top it off, there's an actual to raise money for Trump's border wall, and it's already brought in more than $2.8 million. Remember when Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer offered Trump some $20 billion, not $5 billion, but $20 billion, in exchange for codification of the DACA program, but Trump rejected the deal because he wanted curbs to legal immigration as well? And at publication time this morning, it appears Trump is threatening not to sign the stopgap measure. The Democrats, who know steel slats, wall, are necessary for border security, are putting politics over country. What they are just beginning to realize is that I will not sign any of their legislation, including infrastructure, unless it has perfect border security. USA wins. But then Trump followed up with so much talk about the wall, people are losing sight of the great job being done on our southern border by Border Patrol, ICE and our great military. Remember the caravans? Well, they didn't get through and none are forming or on their way. Border is tight. Fake news silent. So if the border is tight, why the wall? And as plenty of hawkish Republicans oppose Trump's move to pull out U.S. troops from Syria, he's getting praise from Vladimir Putin. Russian President Vladimir Putin praised President Trump's decision to withdraw U.S. troops from Syria, describing the American presence there as illegitimate and the Islamic State as largely defeated on the ground. Putin told journalists at his annual year-end news conference that the Islamic State has suffered serious blows in Syria. On this, Donald is right. I agree with him, Putin said. Why is Putin praising Trump? Maybe here's the answer. Although Russian and Iranian forces had already turned the tide of the civil war in favor of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, the presence of U.S. troops has served as an obstacle to their ambitions and a source of leverage for Washington in any potential political settlement of the conflict. But with Trump's move to pull out the U.S. troops, Russia and particularly Iran, which sent thousands of proxies and its own elite forces into Syria, stand to emerge as the dominant players in a country that shares a border with Israel. Trump, however, is casting the United States leaving Syria as bad news for Russia and Iran. Russia, Iran, Syria and many others are not happy about the U.S. leaving, despite what the fake news says, because now they will have to fight ISIS and others, who they hate, without us. I am building by far the most powerful military in the world. ISIS hits us, they are doomed. As Trump tweets this morning on his border wall in Syria, he hasn't been emphasizing the criminal justice reform legislation that is on its way to becoming a significant victory for the president. Here's on the TikTok of how the legislation got bipartisan support, with the Trump administration's help. Illinois Democratic Senator Dick Durbin, a longtime criminal justice reform advocate, put it this way: a breakthrough I'd never expect, the election of Donald Trump as president. What does that have to do with this? He brought his son-in-law to town. Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, made criminal justice reform a priority, having seen the federal prison system firsthand after his father, real estate developer Charles Kushner, spent 14 months behind bars for tax evasion and illegal campaign contributions. But the president's advisor wasn't ready to agree to what longtime advocates were proposing. William Barr, President Trump's choice for Attorney General, sent an unsolicited memo earlier this year to the Justice Department that excoriated Special Counsel Robert Mueller's inquiry into potential obstruction of justice by Mr. Trump, saying it is based on a fatally misconceived theory that would cause lasting damage to the presidency and the executive branch. In the memo, Mr. Barr wrote he sent it as a former official who hoped his views may be useful. He wrote he was concerned about the part of Mr. Mueller's probe that, according to news reports in the Journal and elsewhere, has explored whether Mr. Trump obstructed justice in asking then FBI Director James Comey to drop an investigation into former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn's contacts with Russia, and by later firing Mr. Comey. Mr. Barr's memo, dated June 8 and sent to Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, argues that, based on the facts as he understands them, the president was acting well within his executive branch authority. Special counsel Robert S. Mueller III asked the House Intelligence Committee on Friday for an official transcript of Trump advisor Roger Stone's testimony, according to people familiar with the request, a sign that prosecutors could be moving to charge him with a crime, per the. It is the first time Mueller has formally asked the committee to turn over material the panel has gathered in its investigation of Russian interference of the 2016 campaign, according to the People. The move suggests that the special counsel is moving to finalize his months-long investigation of Stone, a key part of Mueller's inquiry into whether anyone in President Trump's orbit coordinated with the Russians. Beginning at 7:15 p.m. ET tonight, potential presidential candidates Pete Buttigieg, Jeff Merkley and Eric Swalwell attend the 6th Annual Progress Iowa Holiday Party in Des Moines, Iowa. Also in attendance will be Iowa's two new Democratic Congresswomen, Cindy Axne and Abby Finkenauer. Finally, a national look at the favorable/unfavorable ratings for some of the possible Democratic presidential hopefuls. Here are their numbers among all voters, from best to worst. By the way, Trump's fave/unfave in the poll is 40% favorable, 56% unfavorable, -16. Chuck Todd is moderator of an NBC News political director. Mark Murray is a senior political editor at NBC News. Carrie Dan is a political editor for NBC News.